To start this NBA season, the New York Knicks have started with an 18-17 record, and they're currently the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and this is by far the biggest surprise of the whole season. So their very hot start has led me to make this video where I will be giving 4 things that has made the New York Knicks so good this season. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video to help my channel grow, subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA videos, and to help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers, and comment on this video to start a conversation with me because I respond to all of my comments. And play that intro. The first thing that makes the Knicks so good is the fact that they're a top 3 defensive team in the whole NBA. And this is so important since they're one of the 5 worst offensive teams in the league. And I would imagine if they were even an average or above average defensive team, they would not be a serious contender for the playoffs. But if you're as good on defense as they are, you will always have a chance to win. And the biggest reason for the Knicks being so good on defense is because of their new head coach in Tom Thibodeau, who has simply turned this team around and by far has to be the biggest reason for their terrific defense, as his defensive game plans and schemes have been on point. But don't get it twisted, this is also a Knicks roster with a solid group of defenders, as they have RJ Barrett, who's a good perimeter defender. Mitchell Robinson is one of the best shot blockers in the league and is a very intimidating force in the paint. Elfrid Payton is pretty good on the perimeter as a perimeter defender. Reggie Bullock is a solid defender, and Nerlens Noel is good as a backup big man, and all he can do is play defense. And the rest of the roster is filled out with a bunch of average defenders. So this is by far from one of the best defensive talented teams in the league, but this is still a top 3 defensive team, which is very impressive. The second thing that makes this Knicks team so good is the fact that they're a team that just plays super hard. And yes, I know it's kind of a weird thing to bring up, but I promise you something that makes this Knicks team good is the fact that they never give up on anything. Whether it's giving up on a defensive play, not giving up when they're losing by a significant margin, or other stuff. And having that kind of mentality just straight up makes you a better team. And I believe this Knicks team thinks they can beat any team on any given night. And that has to be credited to Tom Thibodeau, because last season, the Knicks were definitely not like this. Adding Tom is the biggest change from this Knicks team to the one last year, so he deserves a lot of credit. The third thing that makes this Knicks team so good is Julius freaking Randle, who has somewhat been playing like an MVP candidate, as he's been way more improved this season, as he's been way more efficient, which is due to him taking less dumb shots than he did the previous year. And even this year, when he takes those dumb shots, he's still hitting them more often. So far this season, he's been averaging 23 points and 11 rebounds and 5 assists, shooting 48% from the field and 41% from 3. Those are just some amazing numbers. And last year, every Knicks fan hated Randle, since he was a guy who put up empty numbers and had little to no impact on winning the actual basketball games. But now he is a legit all-star, and I'd argue him and the signing of Tom Thibodeau are the 2 biggest reasons for the Knicks' success, and it's straight up delight to see Randle doing well. The fourth thing that makes this Knicks team so good is the fact that this is a roster with a lot of solid role players who just know their role, as they have an all-star and their best player in Julius Randle. Their second best player is RJ Barrett, who's a pretty good scorer, rebounder, and he's a solid defender. Mitchell Robinson is one of the best lob targets and shot blockers in the league. Elfrid Payton is pretty bad on offense, but he's a pretty good defender. Reggie Bullock and Alec Burks are 2 good shooters. Derrick Rose is a guy who can come off the bench and score some points off creating his own shot, and Rose can also create shots for others. Nerlens Noel is a very good backup big man, and he's a very good defender, and he can catch lobs for his offensive ability. And let me not forget their rookie Emmanuel Quickley has been one of the biggest steals in the whole NBA draft, as he's a very good scorer, and he's a guy who can go off for 20 plus points any given night. So clearly this Knicks roster has a bunch of solid players who play a specific role, and that's what makes them so good. They're not necessarily the most talented team in the NBA, but if you have a group of guys who just know their role and know what to do, that can make you a way better team. To conclude this video, I think the Knicks are a very solid team, but my only fear is that in the playoffs, if they make it, they will struggle since they are such a terrible offensive team, and against the best teams like the Nets, Bucks, or the Heat, that simply won't work. They'll have to improve on that end of the floor. And I think Julius Randle could easily get shut down in the playoffs against a good defensive team. But nonetheless, it's good to see the Knicks doing well. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Let me know if you think the Knicks are gonna make the playoffs. Like this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and to help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. And comment on this video to start a conversation with me, because I respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.